on your wrist, a plain Jane.
The following video is broadcasting live, and thank you for being my studio audience. Thank you for hitting thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more Black news, celebrity entertainment, and a splash of controversy. All right, what up and welcome back. It's your girl Jane, the plainest Jane, and we got some syrup to get into. I know it's a little early in the morning / late at night, depending on where you are, but let's go right ahead and get into it. I hope that y'all have had an amazing day. Look, y'all know stuff is always sticky in Hollywood and in real life. We need to get into Pastor Jamal Bryant and how he dissed Kevin Samuels in the pulpit mid-sermon. Okay, yes, drama. The men are fighting. The men are fighting. And there are more than Black women who don't agree with Kevin Samuels' rhetoric. We need to get into that. We also need to get into the nurse who spent Kevin Samuels' last moments with him. She wants $5,000. Let's talk about how. Let's talk about why. We got Black men attempting to rebrand Kevin Samuels all of a sudden. And somehow, one way or another, DJ Academics is wrapped up all up into here. So we've got a couple of things that we need to get over. I wanted to bring to you the Kevin Samuels updates. I know that I have been covering Kevin Samuels, so a lot of you all are looking for that information from me. So come on in, hit thumbs up, have a seat on my bus. Listen, you know, it is free to ride my bus. You ain't gotta pay, okay? But however you decide to support the stream, whether you hit thumbs up, just know I appreciate it. If you send a cash app, a super chat, a super thanks, whatever you do, I appreciate any and all of it just the same. So thank you so much. And shout out to everybody in the live chat who is on the bus right now. And if you're catching the replay, that means you're chasing the bus and you missed it, but that's okay. I appreciate you too. Just make sure you hit thumbs up. Let's get into this intro and let's get right into all the things that we need to talk about this evening. All right.
The plainest Jane. This is one of my favorite comments here. She says, I loves me some Black, and she said, loves me some Black news. She says, is it just me, or does anyone else get tired of seeing people that don't look like them delivering info about them day in and day out?
Now, real quick, before I get into any of my videos, any of my viral topics, trending events, breaking Black news, celebrity updates, whatever it is that I'm talking about, I always make a point to mention your mental health. If you haven't checked in on yourself and tapped into your own invisible issues, you really have no business dibbling and dabbling into celebrity happenings and anything going on in their polarizing, confusing, and problematic world. All right. So shout out to all my new subscribers. Before I get into breaking down all this stuff, make sure you subscribe and thumbs up or down. Either way, I appreciate it. Just make sure you think critically and independently, regardless of what you hear from me or anybody else. So let's get right into what Pastor Jamal Bryant had to say. I know there are quite a few people who are here who are happy to be. Yes. Shout out to you. You are a faithful subscriber. Belize Yawl 80. Thank you so much for coming through. Look, I want to get straight into what Pastor Jamal Bryant had to say. And honestly, I want to explain the context around it. I know a lot of people feel like Pastor Jamal Bryant, the nerve of him to be so imperfect. And don't get me wrong, he's got a lot of flaws. A lot of it is played out on social media, on reality television. He's a pastor. We got side women and child support allegations. Jamal Bryant has a lot of problems surrounding him. However, he still made it a point to call Kevin Samuels out. So it's very interesting. I want to provide some context. Baby, let me tell you, I've read my Bible before I came here and spoke to y'all, right? I consider myself to be a spiritual more than a religious person. So the Bible has, so if everyone lived by the Bible in black and white, nobody would be a sinner, right? So before I get into all that, let's get into what Pastor Jamal Bryant had to say. He actually went back to the Bible and found a man who was, you know, Kevin Samuels and the individual in the Bible. They had some similarities. Let's get into the clip. I'll come back with my thoughts. Make sure y'all hit thumbs up.
You are listening to men who have no authority. How can a man say that you are of low value after 35? How can a man say that you do not have the level of traction of a high-powered man when that man has got to get a GoFundMe for his funeral? Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. You got to be in a place where you operate in the authority of God. Look at another sister around and tell them, it's not that I hate men. Come on, look at another sister and say, I do not hate men. I just despise weak men. I despise cowardice men. I just ain't got time for men who are insecure about my gift. I'm not going to dummy down because of what God got me. I don't have to lower my standard. That man got to step all the way up to deal with a queen on my level. God, deliver our community from men who can't handle anointed women. I really thought y'all were going to shout right through here. I said, deliver us from men who cannot handle anointed women. He don't even understand that's really what's attracting him to you. It's the anointing of God that's on your life. That man can get hips anywhere. He can get bundles of hair anywhere. But it's very rare to find a woman that got my level of anointing that can pray and prophesy. Women of God who are anointed always got something to say. That's why I was heated. I was heated when I read Genesis chapter 7. I got upset when I read Genesis chapter 7. Because look at what Genesis chapter 7 verse 7 says. Is that Noah gets on the ark. His wife gets on the ark. His sons get in the ark. And the sons' wives get on the ark. It takes Noah 150 years to build this ark. I'm waiting on the sisters to back me up on here. In 150 years, y'all don't think Noah's wife said nothing? He got the whole city laughing at him. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. None of his frat brothers are coming to support him. None of the deacons at the church are coming with any plywood or any nails. And y'all really think Noah's wife said nothing? I want to put it on record, and I dare to be contradicted. Ain't no man ever built nothing of substance without a strong woman in his ear. Oh God, I can't hear nobody in here. Y'all don't think because Noah had to take on the greatest task of his life, y'all don't think that Noah's wife is at the bottom of the boat yelling at Noah? You got this, baby. Keep building it. It's going to rain sooner or later. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. Would you just point to some man around you and tell the man standing around, you got this. Just keep on building. Keep on working at it. Understood that women have the gift of prophecy, but he was in fact putting a short gap in place in the event that the woman of God is married to a man of God. Y'all ain't ready for me in here because Paul did not want the woman to check the man. Y'all ain't ready for this kind of preacher. Paul made the controversial statement for insecure preachers to be okay. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. I don't care what kind of man of God you claim to be. If you don't have an authentic woman of God in your life who can hold you into accountability, then your gift ain't going nowhere. Many of you all are quoting that a woman ought to submit. She ain't supposed to submit to a man. She's supposed to submit to a man who is submitted under God. If he ain't submitted, don't you buck your knee. You better stand right there until you find a man. Would you just point to some man around you and tell the man standing around, you got this. Just keep on building. Keep on working at it. God ain't forgotten what he's given to you. Behind every successful man is a tired woman who had to push him to get to that level. I dare you, come on, because we get ready to break this demon that is trying to turn black women against black men. Not in this church. I need some women in this room who know how to affirm a man. Would you open up your mouth and shout for that man not to give up? Shout for that man not to get frustrated. Shout for that man to stay in the fight. Shout for that man to reach his highest potential. Shout for that man to hear the voice of God. Shout for that man to be a deliverer for his people. Shout for that man to be an entrepreneur. Shout for that man to be better than his criminal past. Shout for that man to build. Noah's wife is not given enough credit. Not only did she support Noah, but y'all didn't read Genesis 7. You forgot where it is that all three of her sons got married. I better say it another way. All three of the sons got married, and none of the sons ever got a divorce. They stuck on this ark. Hear this. They stuck on the ark, the wives are, and none of the wives got an issue with the mother-in-law. At least the men ought to be with me right through here. I'm praying in this moment for mothers who will go to God in this moment because you want to see your children in healthy relationships. God, I can't hear nobody. You want to see your children in relationships that are mutually beneficial, and you don't want your children connected to nobody who is going to sink their boat. You want somebody in your child's life that's going to give them the buoyancy to get to their God level ordination. I don't know where y'all are, but y'all have been shouting for the wrong stuff. I want to believe that all of my daughters are going to get married to men who are better than me, who can get further than where it is that I am.
Rolex on your wrist, a plain giant.
So a lot was said. A lot was said, and listen, dare I say, he was telling the truth. It's just like Azalea Banks. A broken clock is wrong 2 times a day. It is. Hey, it's no different than Candace Owens. You know, she is this proud Black Republican. And this is not me speaking out about Republicans. I'm just using, like, she be up Trump's ass. And it's just like a lot of times she just be dead wrong. And a lot of times Candace Owens is tap dancing. However, what's she doing right now? She's holding Patrice colors. Okay. She's holding her to task and getting her to speak. She is pressing the woman who took all of those millions of dollars, $6+ million from people who donated and gave funds to Black Lives Matter. This is a woman who wasted the money, who had block parties and lavish gatherings in one of her 2 mansions. This is Candace Owens that's getting her to talk. So Candace Owens a lot of times is a poor representative of the Black community, but she's right 2 times a day, right? So I'm just like, listen, let the trash take out the trash. And who else can we get Candace Owens to press? Because this brought Patrice to tears and it got her to tell the truth about where some of the millions of dollars went, where some of that money went that she collected from Black Lives Matter. So sometimes people can feel like, oh, right message, wrong messenger. Sometimes that wrong messenger, sometimes, not all the time, it can prove that something needs to be said. And in this case, it proves that everybody opposed to Kevin Samuel's ideologies and his teachings, if you want to call teachings, you want to call them that, it proves that it's more than just women who feel like that's a bit much. That was unnecessary. It's just Black women hit dogs hollering. Jamal not a hit dog hollering. He's a Black man that don't agree with another Black man and feels like it was bogus. And is calling out an alleged high value man who had a lot of financial issues. High value financial issues, meaning your value was placed on what? Your following. You had 1 million on YouTube and 1 million on Instagram, but you know, it's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is there were people in the Bible like Kevin. And that was something that if I'm going to give the full context to what Jamal was talking about, he was talking about people in the Bible who felt like women had no place to challenge men or ask men questions in public because they didn't want to be that challenge of a man is so uncomfortable and they take offense to it to the point where they feel like it should be illegal. And the oppression of women it's just that. And that's what the whole sermon was about. His whole sermon wasn't about Kevin Samuels. Those little 5 minutes, those are the only 5 minutes he used to put him in there. He spoke about women being oppressed, women not having a voice in the established patriarchy that we have. That's what that sermon was about. And he gave several examples. I listened to the whole thing before I came here. You know, I'm not just going to come here because I gathered a little clip because I went to go get one. No, I got this clip on my own. I recorded it on my own and listened to the sermon in its entirety to gather the full context of what he was saying. And what he's saying is the silencing of Black women just doesn't make sense because Black women are the backbone. Black women are able to challenge or check, right? Because sometimes when you hear check, it's like, oh, she put me in my place. No, it's a challenge and it's challenging you to be better. So it's not that the Black woman is uncheckable. It's not that the Black woman is not capable of being submissive to her partner. It's that you have to be worthy of being submissive. And there were people like Kevin in the Bible's time who wanted to silence women. And Paul was one of those men that he brought up in the Bible. So when we look at the scripture that he was talking about, because baby, guess I went and looked. And I didn't just look at the scripture. I looked around it too. I looked at the 10 or so verses before, the 10 or so verses after, but we're going to talk about it. Excuse me, because he spoke about Paul, and Paul being one of those ones that wanted to prophesy, but felt like he didn't want a woman to prophesy. He wanted a woman to be quiet in church because that woman, her ability to potentially challenge him would be a threat to his authority in that hierarchy. Okay. So this is the scripture that he was talking about. 1 Corinthians 14, 34 and 35. It says, as in all churches of the saints, the women should keep silent in the churches, for they are not permitted to speak, but should be in submission, as the law also says. You know, the law would actually be the Bible, the commandments, the rules that they were living by at that time. It continues to say, and if they desire to learn anything, let them ask their own husbands at home, for it is improper for a woman to speak in church. The reason why it is forbidden, right, for you to ask these questions in church at this time is because it's going to challenge the man in authority, which is exactly what Jamal said. This is a passage that props insecure male prophesizers up during that time to allow them to oppress women, and it doesn't allow women to question what is being ingrained in their brain as they are learning religion. When you are learning religion, you should be able, and when you're learning anything, you should be able to ask questions which may challenge the origin, the speaker, whoever is giving you the information. It will challenge them. But sometimes men take challenge as an attack, just like they take accountability as an attack. So there were men like this. And the fact that Jamal said that, he said that in this clip, it's really interesting. It really is.
You are listening to men who have no authority. How can a man say that you are of low value after 35? How can a man say that you do not have the level of traction of a high-powered man when that man has got to get a GoFundMe for his funeral? Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. You got to be in a place where you operate in the authority of God. Look at another sister around and tell them, it's not that I hate men. Come on, look at another sister and say, I do not hate men. I just despise weak men. I despise cowardice men. I just ain't got time for men who are insecure about my gift. I'm not going to dummy down because of what God got me. I don't have to lower my standard. That man got to step all the way up to deal with a queen on my level. God, deliver our community from men who can't handle anointed women. I really thought y'all were going to shout right through here. I said, deliver us from men who cannot handle anointed women. He don't even understand that's really what's attracting him to you. It's the anointing of God that's on your life. That man can get hips anywhere. He can get bundles of hair anywhere. But it's very rare to find a woman that got my level of anointing that can pray and prophesy. Women of God who are anointed always got something to say. That's why I was heated. I was heated when I read Genesis chapter 7. I got upset when I read Genesis chapter 7. Because look at what Genesis chapter 7 verse 7 says. Is that Noah gets on the ark. His wife gets on the ark. His sons get in the ark. And the sons' wives get on the ark. It takes Noah 150 years to build this ark. I'm waiting on the sisters to back me up on here. In 150 years, y'all don't think Noah's wife said nothing? He got the whole city laughing at him. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. None of his frat brothers are coming to support him. None of the deacons at the church are coming with any plywood or any nails. And y'all really think Noah's wife said nothing? I want to put it on record, and I dare to be contradicted. Ain't no man ever built nothing of substance without a strong woman in his ear. Oh God, I can't hear nobody in here. Y'all don't think because Noah had to take on the greatest task of his life, y'all don't think that Noah's wife is at the bottom of the boat yelling at Noah? You got this, baby. Keep building it. It's going to rain sooner or later. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. Would you just point to some man around you and tell the man standing around, you got this. Just keep on building. Keep on working at it. Understood that women have the gift of prophecy, but he was in fact putting a short gap in place in the event that the woman of God...
You hear that? This is him talking about Paul.
A short gap in place in the event that the woman of God is married to a man of God. Y'all ain't ready for me in here because Paul did not want the woman to check the man.
Paul did not want the woman to check the man the same way Kevin Samuels feel like the woman is incapable or not supposed to check the man because the woman is supposed to be checked and that's it. The woman is supposed to submit because that is what misogyny tells us. That is what that sector, those men, that color of that pill, that's what they tell us. Oh, y'all black women can't be checked. We can be checked, but you have to be worthy of checking us. And if your definition of checking is degrading us and disrespecting us, then no. And so him speaking about men in the Bible who are making room for them to continue to oppress women. Is he imperfect? Hell yeah. Pastor Jamal Bryant is somebody that I got to know here in Baltimore. Okay. It's been a lot has transpired with Pastor Jamal Bryant. Pastor Jamal Bryant used to be the pastor of Empowerment Temple here in Baltimore, off Northern Parkway. Been there a handful of times. Pastor Jamal Bryant has some very, what do I call it? In thought-provoking, very provoking titles. And he always does. The title of this sermon here, when I was doing my research, is She Always Got Something to Say. And that speaks to, right? When you just hear that title, it's just like, oh, yeah, my woman always got something to say. Yeah, a woman, that's considered talking back, right? Yeah, we're always going to, if you want to call it talking back, because you feel like you're in a parental role when it comes to a relationship. Women are supposed to fully submit, not ever have any bite, any feedback, and are supposed to listen to their husband or their spouse or their partner as if their partner is their daddy. Oh, I want you to lose weight. You look a certain way. Whole time, do you look like Flavor Flav? No. But the title of this sermon was She Always Talk Back. And he's like, listen, women will talk back. But sometimes when y'all say talk back, it's really just her giving feedback. You find me a series of successful black men that don't have a successful woman behind them, helping to cheer them on and encourage them and instill positivity and motivation in them the way that they need. So yes, us talking back isn't always us challenging you, even though challenges are a good thing. Challenges are what propel you forward, right? Not challenges that don't yield a better version of you, but a challenge that is actually going to get you and progress you to where the person that you desire to be. That is the role that Black women play. And Black women play that role very well. We encourage our men. We motivate our men. So listen, is Jamal Bryant perfect? Hell to the fucking no. I remember one of his sermons was about something about a snake or something, and I can't remember what it was, but I remember listening to it, right? Just because I'm like, before I judge this pastor by his title, let me listen. This is when he was still in Baltimore, though. Now he's like down in Texas or something like that. And I remember listening to it, and the connotation was oral, right? It was something like the snake or something, da-da-da-da-da. But he always creates an enticing title like that. And what I can tell you, listen, he's got his problems. Marital affairs, messy divorces, side women, sleeping with women of the church while his wife is the first lady. Listen, he's got a lot of problems. But you find me a perfect person on this earth that's calling somebody out or trying to hold somebody accountable. Nobody's perfect. And that's what makes, being a prophet so lucrative. So lucrative. And sometimes it takes dirty people to call out other dirty people. And sometimes it takes people of the opposite gender to call out a specific gender, right? The opposite gender when it comes to Black women. Because we look bitter if we talk about Kevin Samuels in a less than positive way. That's just the natural assumption. Y'all mad because y'all are hit dogs hollering and y'all. No, we're not mad. It's just that his rhetoric was dangerous and it was vile and it was divisive. So anytime we call him out, it's, oh, y'all just mad because, yeah. Okay, so when a Black man call you out that has no benefit to calling him out, what do you call that, right? So, for me, for him to actually find a scripture, right, that speaks directly to the type of person that Kevin Samuels was, and this is the thing, Pastor Jamal Bryant went into the Bible to speak about a Kevin Samuels. He referred to a book that holds weight and credibility, although nothing is, he referred to a book, right? He referred to literature. Kevin Samuels, what does he refer to when he prophesizes his ideologies? What does he refer to? Nothing besides his feelings, his opinion. Pastor Jamal Bryant actually referred to literature that I actually went and read. And I'm like, yeah. And the fact that he called Paul out and said Paul was afraid of being checked by his woman. He was afraid that other men who prophesize will be called out by their woman who prophesies, and men are uncomfortable with challenge. So Paul created and placed something in the Bible to help prop up insecure pastors or prophesizers or people who preach the word. That is this scripture right here. For you to say women can't prophesize and they need to ask their husband what the answers are, they're not allowed to challenge men out in public, means that you are creating a safe space for this dangerous rhetoric, that you aren't allowing women to challenge or ask questions about anybody learning anything, whether you're a second grader or whether you're in college. You should be able to ask questions when you are learning information from a source, whether it's religious, whether it's science, whether it's arithmetic, or whatever the case is. But the fact of the matter is, some men are so threatened by women asking questions and challenging them that they feel like, let's go ahead and create something that either doesn't allow them to ask questions, which is what the scripture is written by Paul, right? That's why you gotta be really careful when you just, everything in the Bible is, it's fat. It's you know, I'm more spiritual than religious, to be I absolutely believe in God, a higher power. However, everything in the Bible, this shit that was written by man, go ahead and read 1 Corinthians chapter 14 all on your own and tell me what you get. But people like Kevin Samuels didn't just pop into existence in the 1960s. Like, that's not when these people existed. These insecure ass men that don't want women to have equal footing as them, because we're so much of a threat, because we're so intelligent. They've been in existence for the longest fucking time. They've been in existence for a long time. So nonetheless, Pastor Jamal Bryant mentioning the Kevin Samuels saying that, listen, y'all submitting to these quote unquote high value men and they need GoFundMes for their funerals. It's like, ladies, what are you doing? It's like, goddamn. I know some people might be upset, and I know some people might feel like, oh, you're the pot calling the kettle black because your life ain't in order. You tell me who's living a cookie cutter life? Who? Because even the most privileged of the most privileged, even the people who are looked at as perfect on television, they all got issues. They could be white, black, purple, Pakistani, Asian, Chinese, you know, Christian, atheist, Jamaican, Arab, you know, anything you can think of. Everybody got some imperfections in their life. Doesn't mean that they are banned from holding someone accountable or voicing their opinion about the wrongdoing that somebody got going on in their world. I don't think so. Like I said, a broken clock is wrong 2 times a day, and Pastor Jamal Bryant just might be the perfect person to call out a Kevin Samuels, because thank God it's a man and not a woman. Because what you gonna say? Oh, y'all are hurt dogs hollering. Actually, Pastor Jamal Bryant said it's not a woman thing. Look, it's not a woman thing. Pastor Jamal Bryant being somebody from Baltimore, all that, this in the third. Listen, this, I'm glad that he was able to speak out. And like I said, Kevin Samuels, he never referred to a book. It'd be different if he made himself more credible by saying this book and that book. And it was never a book. It was always how he felt, what he was thinking, and projecting that onto other Black men and emboldening them to treat Black women the same, which is pretty problematic. I want to get into the 5,000. I want to get into the $5,000. Let me know if y'all want to get into the $5,000. Make sure y'all hit thumbs up on this video. There is a rebrand taking place when it comes to Kevin Samuels. So I'm going to get into the $5,000. I want to get into the rebrand and all those other good things. So do me a favor, hit thumbs up. I'm going to hit this commercial. We're going to come back and get into the second half of my commentary and the things that I want to talk to you about. All right.
So let's see if you're really proud about it. If you've been serious about what you've been saying about wanting to support more Black-owned businesses, here's your chance. I found a spot for us to grab our hats, hoodies, affordable electronics, phone accessories, and gadgets from. It's over on edwersow.com. That's EDWERSOW.com. Grab something for your hubby, your wife. Hey, I ain't encouraging that side chick behavior, but it's just in time for the holidays. So head on over there and grab your AirPod cases, hoodies, and affordable electronics. That's edwersow.com, EDWERSOW.com. And I'll see you over there. It's time to face it, boo. Your product needs more exposure. If you want to see your ad here on my channel, be sure to shoot an email over to yt.theplainestjane@gmail.com and let's chat. But if you're new in my neighborhood here on YouTube, hey, I'm the Plainest Jane, and I provide coverage and commentary on trending stories, viral events, and Black culture. I definitely appreciate you stopping through and hitting that subscribe button if you like more of my particular brand of syrup.
And we are back. Look, I see a couple of people in the chat saying I watched Kevin. And listen, the thing about it is I know that a lot of people are trying to rebrand him in a way where he's looked at as a saint or a martyr of some sort, and he's not. It's no different than these companies that really mistreat and don't care about black, brown, marginalized folks. And they have one little diversified as, meeting or campaign or advertisement. Just because he had one or two shows or clips that held Black men accountable, the scale ain't even, baby. Those two shows compared to the 240 shows that bash Black women, the scale's not even. So people can miss me with that, especially his little lost kittens that are upset that Black women aren't mourning the way that they expect them to, the way that they are. Okay. Comparing him to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and everyone else that actually made some progress for Black people, y'all really got to stop. Y'all really got to stop. I haven't been in the group lately because I've been minding my mental peace. And honestly, I've been researching a lot of different stories. There's a lot of really good things in store for the channel and people I've been talking to and new series that I have been developing lately. So I'm really happy about that. Okay. So I've been focused on making sure I can deliver y'all quality content at least on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, and then giving y'all more laid back content on Saturdays and Sundays. So thank you for hitting the subscribe button and the like button if you're interested in more of my vibe, especially more of my Black history and our roots as African-American folk. Okay. Wait a minute. Hold on. Jane, he can't talk about nobody. He stayed pandering while being a pulpit pimp. But that's the thing though. Every pastor, right? Everybody in the pulpit is imperfect. And I'm not saying that none of that shit is right. It's trashy. He should have never been on reality television. He should have never been stepping out on his wife. He should have never done any of that stuff. However, sometimes the trash taking out the trash is necessary and it makes for a good show. And sometimes the trash taking out the trash, it do exactly what needs to be done. And when I say that, that's why I bring up the example of Candace Owens and Patrice from Black Lives Matter. Okay, because she took over $6 million of people who actually gave a fuck about the cause, police brutality, and all of the slain Black angels who really deserve to still be here, who aren't, based on police brutality. And Kevin, Candace Owens is actually making progress despite how loud, wrong, and anti-Black she can typically be. She's making progress with that. And it can be kind of difficult to want to call out somebody that's a part of the LGBT community, which, you know, Patrice is. And so Candace taking on that role and actually making progress and getting her to admit, what did you do with the money that everybody donated to you? It's working. So, and just like any other past, all of them are imperfect. Does that mean that because he's imperfect, because he stepped out, he's not allowed to preach? He's not allowed to highlight other people's wrongdoings? I don't think so. You know, if that's the case, nobody would be doing it. And so I think that it's pretty lucrative, and I don't mind listening if Jamal wants to continue to hold Kevin accountable. Although honestly, it sounded like it was just the end bit of one of his sermons. It just is. And you know what I mean? And then you got different categories of what it is. It'd be different if, let's say Pastor Jamal Bryant, for example, was a colorist and he was calling somebody else out for colorism, you know. Yeah, he disrespects Black women and does other things, but it makes it contradictory for Pastor Jamal Bryant, but it also makes it real. It's like, wow, you're willing to step out and speak up about Black women demanding more and demanding better for themselves when you know you've been with women who haven't even done the same. So it makes it lucrative for us to pay attention, because it's like, damn, you telling the truth. So if anything, it just makes it more easier for us to pin Pastor Jamal Bryant down if and when he continues with the patterns that are already existing for and with him, if it makes sense. It's awesome that he's speaking out. It's like, okay, so you're doing something for us, and also you're putting yourself in a box. Like, you go ahead and mess with somebody that fits the criteria of what you just spoke up about in the future, and let us know what you think. I think it'd be amazing if somebody like a Steve Harvey, right? Failed marriages, on his fourth one, but still happily married now, right? Because that was the difference between a Steve Harvey and a Kevin Samuels. One's divorced before, the other's divorced before, but one actually has a successful relationship where he's able to maintain his wife, whereas though Kevin is preaching marriage advice and he don't even got a successful marriage to show for it. It's weird. So it's not like Jamal was giving marriage advice. He was giving Black women, know your worth and stop submitting to all these suckers. And he didn't tell no lies. Do some people feel like it's the wrong messenger? Oh, absolutely. But sometimes the wrong messenger makes for a juicy story. Sometimes. It does. It does. It does. It does. But Candace rolled up on Patrice, had Patrice crying on Instagram. You hear me? Had her crying on Instagram. She wouldn't answer the door, but she got on Instagram and couldn't wait to cry. Okay? But nonetheless, let me get into this. Like I said, they were comparing Kevin Samuels. They are still comparing Kevin Samuels a lot to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and so on and so forth. And it's like, stop it. It's like, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. The rebrand of Kevin Samuels it's really just getting out of control. It's getting out of control. He should not be in the same sentence with the Martin Luther King. And I've said this in a previous video, and I see a couple of other people are running with these talking points. And so I feel the need to circle back around my own goddamn talking points. Because like I said, y'all have no clue how many messages I've gotten about people stealing not only my content and my talking points, but actually playing my videos in their videos. And that's just something that's like, without even giving credit or mentioning. It'd be different if you at least said, yo, this is a plain shame video. I'm gonna go ahead and play this. You know, so I just want to circle back around my own goddamn talking points. This is something that I gathered literally last week. Stop comparing Kevin Samuels to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. It doesn't make any sense. But let's talk about the $5,000. Thank you all for hitting thumbs up on this video. Thank you so much for hitting the subscribe button if you haven't already. Okay, we're having a good time. It is definitely the freaking weekend. Okay, let's get into the $5,000 and how the nurse who spent the very last moments with Kevin Samuels, how and why she wants $5,000. Let's talk about it.
Rolex on your wrist, a plain Jane.
You're tuned in to Jane, the plainest Jane. Be sure to thumbs up the video and subscribe, and let's get into it.
$5,000. I told you all that DJ Academics was linked into this. You know what? I want to get into a different mood. Wait a minute. Not the light doing the Why is the light doing all that? I wanted to get into a different mood, but baby, I didn't want to do all that. Hold up. Make me want to. Oh, Jesus Christ. Thank you. It's too much. Calm down, Light. Light worked up like one of them Kevin Samuels fans. They trying to light up my comments. What's really going on? Let's bring it down a little bit. Let's bring it down. $5,000. Let's talk about these $5,000, right? I know y'all feel like the orange light look better, and that's cool. But sometimes I like the blue light, especially because it's 2:45. It's 2:45 in the morning. It's late. I want to do something a little bit more chill. Just a little bit more chill. So, we talk about these $5,000. The $5,000 actually, the nurse, we all know her as Alcantara. Ortensia Alcantara is her name, okay? And we know that she was the nurse. I showed you the receipts. I showed you the police report error. We went through the police report error. We went through the fake identity. We went through the real identity. There was a lot that took place in the Kevin Samuels death situation. She wants $5,000 to do an interview. Now, mind you, a lot of people are already looking at her a certain type of way because she admitted, right? And this is according to the police report, that they had just met that day, that she was basically a one-night stand. She had met Kevin like the day before. And so a lot of people are already looking at her as basically like a jump off, right? She's like a jump off, according to the police report, right? These are official documents. You told the police you had just met him the day before. And she's asking for $5,000 for an interview as people seek, just like additional understanding. And, academics, DJ Academics had got in contact with her. He is a very polarizing and controversial himself. And his stance was, he basically just wanted to know, like, listen, did you poison him? Did you KILL him? Like, what went on? And so she basically said that she wanted $5,000 in order to sit down and talk with him. And he turned around and was like, girl, fuck you. That's basically what he said. And he went live and he discussed it, right? And what he said was like, it's not worth it. I'm going to make more money talking about you than giving you the money that you asking for. And you know what? I agree. I feel like, I'm not surprised. And honestly, I do not blame her. I don't blame her because honestly, there's no YouTube interview by academics or anybody else, right? Like even myself, like I would try to interview somebody like her, but honestly, she's still going to get bashed. Whether it's academics, me, some random mojo, smojo, whoever it is, she's going to get bashed because that is what Kevin Samuels fans want to do. Nobody, an interview on YouTube is not going to alleviate the come down of public opinion, especially Kevin Samuels diehard fans. They want to blame her, and they'll even pick apart her continued distress and her guilt. They're going to call it a lie or a cover up. Oh, she seemed upset. That's because this. They'll come up with a reason. Insert reason here. Oh, she seemed distressed because insert reason here. Kevin Samuels fan. I mean, hey, listen, she's a non-black woman, and Kevin Samuels fans have still found a way to make it the fault of black women. Oh, in these really dangerous groups. Oh, don't you think it's the fault of black women that he died? Black women set him up with the non-black women to kill him. Like, black woman set Kevin Samuels up in a room with the non-black woman to kill him. We got all that time and all that care. Honestly, let me tell you what's coming on now. I'm going to give you free game. I'm going to give you free game on two fronts. What's happening now is Kevin Samuels used us black women so much. It made so much money off of bashing us. And a lot of us, a good amount of us, paid him no mind while he was here because it's no point. But he made so much money off bashing us even when we weren't looking or when we didn't care. And now that he's gone, we're making our money back. Every YouTuber that's made at least one video, even websites who have published one article or more about Kevin Samuels, has definitely profited from his death. And it's not that we're celebrating and throwing up pom-poms. It's just he profited off of our demise and condescending us on a daily basis. And he said that himself before he started doing that. He said, if I bash black women, I'll get a lot of views. Then he started doing it, and then that clip became forgotten about. It became dust. And so black women are really just taking the opportunity to have extensive dialogue about him, people who think like him, his diehard fans, the effects of all of those things combined to make money the way that he made money off of us in our backs. That's what we're doing right now. And I think that we have that right. But we minded our mental peace while he was here, because to give him that additional attention, he was already popular enough only because he bashed us. So to continuously make videos about him while he was here would do nothing but put money in his pocket. But he doesn't have money to he doesn't have a pocket to put money in now. And so the same way he was an opportunist and made money off of degrading us, we're making money off of creating dialogue around him. What goes around comes around. And that's where we are right now. That's where we are. And so ain't nobody celebrate. I didn't know Kevin Samuels enough to celebrate, but I still got plenty of men pulling up. Y'all celebrate. Who's celebrating? You're upset because I'm not as sad as you. A matter of fact, I'm not sad at all. And it's, you want to call my lack of care a celebration, and that's not the same. Me not giving a fuck and me celebrating are two totally different things. But nonetheless, Kevin Samuels, and I see a lot of his fans actually enjoying the fact that he passed away with a woman that looks as good as the nurse, Ortensia Alcantara. She is a foreign, right? A non-black woman. And a lot of people feel like, damn, she looks good. They feel like he died inside of a bad thing. He did it. And like the fact that his followers really prioritize the look of the woman he passed away with, when that woman didn't even know the apartment number, the building address. She knew none of that information. Emergency contact, next of kin, none of those things. Somebody that, according to her, she met yesterday. Women don't just admit that they met a man yesterday because it makes you look a little bit more fast, a little bit more hot, a little bit more thotty, yaddy, 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 yaddy. than anyone else. So you had to have said that because it had to have been true. Now, had you had a couple of conversations with him on the phone prior? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But back to the $5,000. Let's get back to the $5,000. Where is his daughter? You know what? It's difficult to say. There's a lot of false information out right now about his daughter. And about his mother, believe it or not, but there's more false information out about his daughter, which is the reason why you haven't seen me speak about it. And I just feel like, you know what? They should be separate. That's how I feel. It's not like she jumped out. I agree with my dad. Based on the real research, there's a lot of fake information out here right now. So, based on the research that I've done, they honestly do not agree with one another. There's fake phone calls out here, fake research out here. It don't even make no sense. So listen, I'm not touching on his family. His family honestly had nothing to do with him. And so I'm focused on him. I'm focused on the nurse that spent the last moments, but I'm not getting into his daughter or anything because I just don't feel like it's fair to her. But let's continue to talk about these $5,000, right? When we talk about the $5,000 that that the nurse wants, so academics wanted to interview her, and I feel like, listen, I'm glad you didn't. I had an extensive conversation with somebody else that just didn't agree. They felt like, well, she's going to be a stiff interview. And I'm like, yeah, she's going to be a stiff interview because you think about it. If academics or anybody else was to interview the nurse who was in the room with Kevin Samuels during his last moments, what new information are we going to get? What new information are we going to get? We're not going to get any new information. No new info. It's not worth it for either party. It's not worth it for her, and it's not worth it for ACT. It's not worth it for academics because a stiff interview for someone like him. $5,000 is a lot for somebody that's not even a household name. It's ridiculous. And for her, she's already dealing with a lot. And like I said earlier, Kevin Samuels fans are going to pick her apart like there's no tomorrow. It doesn't matter what she says or what she does. If she's naturally just nervous, afraid, still in a little bit of shock, they're going to pick apart those character traits and call it all guilt. Or she'll get up there and lie and people will be able to see and tell that she's lying. So it doesn't make sense for her to go on to act. Y'all know academics is a well-known, woman basher. So it also wouldn't be in her best interest for that matter. A lot of y'all talk about the weeping bush. Oh, you talking about the person named Weeping Bush. But you know what? We ain't been to the bush yet. We haven't been to the bush yet. I'm glad academics and both the nurse didn't agree to do the interview because it would have been a hot mess. Absolutely. Yes. Let's go to the bush.
It was gone.
Let me just go in the bush and weep. Let me just go in the bush and weep. I just have to go in the bush and weep. Really. I don't understand. I swear to God, I don't understand.
Listen, it wouldn't make sense for either one of them. Look, for the girl, Kevin Samuels fans ain't gonna let up. They want to believe that someone killed him. Okay, so it doesn't matter what you say. They're going to tell you that you killed him. For academics, for you to get a stiff interview, right? She already knows. She's already leave me and my family alone and all this other stuff. She already knows what she's up against. So now she's trying to prove herself against the people that think she killed Kevin Samuels. So is she going to come in bearing the truth and just, yeah, this is what happened? No, she's going to be on guard. She could be telling lies to try to combat some of the crap she's received. She could be pretty stiff. She could be pretty tight-lipped. It doesn't make sense. All the information that we needed to know, we know. We know her name. We know her identification. We know her occupation. We know when they met. We know her hometown. We know that she flew out there. Is there anything new that she'll be able to present? But $5,000 for an interview, I get it. It sounds like a lot. However, I don't blame her for placing the price there, because it's like, yo, you're gonna get bashed. Oh, you're gonna get bashed. If you were in the inbox with academics, which he said y'all were in the inbox together, it don't take you but so long to interview and figure out what type of guy he is. First of all, you were going to get bashed anyway, let alone to be interviewed by a guy like academics. It doesn't make sense for you to go there. Even to get $5,000 and to be bashed and to go through that type of mental gymnastics to sit through it. Is it going to be a good interview? I guarantee you a lot of the hot button questions that he wants to know, you're not going to answer. We are still waiting for the toxicology report, the manner of death, how he passed away. Do you think she's going to give us that information before the report comes out, or no? I doubt it, because it would be very incriminating if it's not clean. The toxicology report would reveal what Kevin was on, if it was anything outside of water and Gatorade, right? Which could potentially give us some clues as to what she was on, what they were doing together. We have these rumors of coke, fentanyl, Red Bull, whatever. So if whatever she was to admit with regards to, were y'all doing the substance? Were y'all snorting? The biggest questions around this situation are incriminating. So it doesn't there's not even room to be left for a good interview. And academics admitted himself, I just want to know if he poisoned the guy. So this girl knows what she's up against, and she's going to be on guard. She's not going to give you a good interview, nor is it beneficial for her to, I wouldn't even say accept the offer, because you never wanted to pay her $5,000, right, academics? But it wouldn't make sense for either one of them, honestly, from an interview standpoint. As a baby producer myself, it just doesn't make sense. Sometimes a stiff interview is beneficial to your platform, because a stiff interview is going to be very telling to what you want to say and what you don't want to say. And some people may feel like, well, a stiff interview isn't the fault of the platform where it's, but sometimes it is. It depends. And sometimes a stiff interview, I feel like YouTube would really get off with the reaction and the response, and her not really providing any value or giving anything. It's a gamble to give her an interview, and it can be very crippling for someone with the footing of a DJ academics. This is part of the game that they don't tell you about, and I'm gonna let you in on it. DJ academics, it's not that people at his level and above, the Joe Buttons and whoever else, it's not that they don't pay for interviews. They absolutely pay for interviews at times. They absolutely make it convenient for people to speak their speech on their platform so that they can get the views and the listenership and the audience that they want and that they need, right? Like, that is a thing. But it's not beneficial for word like that to get out. Because what it can turn into is, well, if people are accepting payment from you and speaking for you on your platform, it can come off like they are being paid to say certain things, to fit your certain narrative or perspective. That can be very crippling for someone with an academics positioning. I'm not saying that academics is a great person. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, with his level of visibility, it can be harmful if people were to find out that not only was he paying for interviews, but that he was paying something more than $1,000 for interviews. That can be very crippling for someone like him, someone that has one foot inside of YouTube and one foot on non-syndicated podcasts, The Breakfast Club, Joe Budden, State of the Culture. That can be very crippling for him. So it would be best, even if he did pay for interviews, it can be very crippling for people to find out that he does, let alone if they were to find out that he pays upwards of $5,000. It can be very crippling. And so it wouldn't be in his best interest, especially there's a difference between paying somebody like, let's say like a New York off of the Flavor of Love or Delicious or somebody that's had some sort of legit brush up against the industry and still always has a revolving door, and you are able to discern that, as opposed to a random woman like Ortensia Alcantara. She's a random woman. And who knows if she's really going to be able to keep her mouth shut about that. The thing about it with academics is he is in huge support of Kevin Samuels, and he really just wants to know, did you poison my man? Did you not? The interview could go any way. And academics is known to be a woman basher. So if that woman, if this nurse Ortensia Alcantara were to find out that he is a basher, she could go expose him for $5,000 or less, or for free, just to let people know how trash he is. So, like I said, like, it's just not worth it for either one of them to have done the interview. It's not worth it for academics to pay $5,000. And it's not worth it for the girl to accept anything less than $5,000 to do an interview, because she's going to be trash regardless. There's not going to be any cookie cutter thing that the nurse can say that's going to get her the favor and to lessen the intensity that's coming her way when it comes to Kevin Samuels and his fans. I mean, period, point blank. That's just what it is. So I think that they both made the best decision. A dry or stiff interview, it can be very telling, but it's not always lucrative for someone who has a great amount of experience. And if you don't have a lot of interview experience, somebody that's stiff and apprehensive, you're either going to push him over the edge because you're like, I just need a moment. Let me ask a question that's overboard, which academics rubs me that way, right? Or you can let them be stiff the whole time, and everyone's just going to call your interview stiff or whatever. And then there'll be a lot of ripple videos and people be looking at the reactions. And if people look at 2 or more reactions and it says it's not even worth viewing the initial one because she didn't say anything, her posture was just weird the whole time, then nobody's going to look at it. I'm a very analytical person. So don't get me wrong. I know that might be like a deep analysis, but it's just like when it comes to interviewing and interviews, like, listen, I've interviewed a lot of people, big people, small people. Y'all haven't even seen all the people that I've interviewed, because sometimes there were just like issues with, it'd be behind the scenes stuff, but like Kel Mitchell's ex-wife, home of the good burger, can I take it? Or, all that other stuff. I've interviewed big people, and it's really an art. And academics isn't somebody that is well established in the world of interviews. He's not looked at like, yeah, he's a damn good interviewer, like a Nancy Grace, or about to name somebody, but child might rip me apart for her. If you're a good interviewer, then whatever. But rookie interviewers, they need a lot to work with. And a stale interview for a rookie interviewer like a DJ Academics, for someone that doesn't have a household name, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So, listen, we have discussed quite a lot. We've discussed Pastor Jamal Bryant, DJ Academics. We have discussed Black men's attempt to rebrand Kevin Samuels because they feel like Black women are just doing too much. They feel like we're doing too much. And I've already said a lot in this video. So, nonetheless, my final thoughts and unanswered questions. I really don't. Kiva sent you. Oh, awesome, 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 awesome. I really appreciate that. My final thoughts as it pertains to the $5,000 in Pastor Jamal Bryant. Pastor Jamal Bryant really wasn't telling any lies. Okay. He definitely kept it real, and he even used scripture to do so. I recommend you check out the sermon in its entirety, just to get some information, just so that you don't feel like, oh, he was just like dissing Kevin Samuel for whatever reason. Like, nah, he actually tied it into what he was talking about that day. But also, as it pertains to the $5,000 that the nurse wants, I want to know how y'all feel about that down below. I don't blame her, but I also don't blame academics as well. I have things to say about the both of them. Nothing that would make me feel like, oh, I don't dislike either of them, but I feel like it was in both of their best interests to not, oh, you know what? I had another super chat earlier. To not say anything. Let me say thank you to my super chats. Soldier Girl sent me a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Soldier Girl. And then I have a $9.99 super sticker from Dareth 30. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of that. So listen, I would ask that you all be sure to tag me in your favorite trending topics on Instagram and on Twitter. I appreciate all of those things. I can't wait to talk to you all tomorrow. I had a very large show planned for you all this evening, but I got caught up just reading a lot of articles so that I could be informed about a wide variety of things that I'm not even able to speak about this evening because I'm giving you this video and I don't want to say what I'm talking about tomorrow, because if there's anybody who wants to copy me, which, girl, I know you watching. And I know you copying my shit. You copying my style. You copying my screen sharing. You copying my thumbnails. You copying my subject matter. Girl, I know you watching and I know you hear me talking to you. But you should probably find your own person. You should you'll have better luck that way if you find your own person. But nonetheless, so I'm not talking about what I will be discussing tomorrow, which will be Saturday, but I'm so anxious and I do want you all to call in. This is something where I want and where I need everybody to come in. Y'all know I am a child advocate. I advocate for the children, and I really enjoy speaking against some of the bullshit that's happening within the school system, and that's all I'll say. But that is what tomorrow's show encompasses. Okay? So listen, I will give you all a sticky note sometime tomorrow. I did give you all a sticky note this morning, so hopefully you all enjoyed that in addition to my Throwback Thursday. But look, thank you for watching. Thank you for checking that community tab. I really appreciate you engaging with my content, not just my videos, but also the community tab. Don't forget to do something relaxing for yourself today. Yeah, I'm talking to myself with that one too. Let me know your thoughts on all the things that we discussed this evening as it pertains to Kevin Samuels, the $5,000, Pastor Jamal Bryant, dissing him in the scripture. Child, that was a piece of drama that I definitely was not like, Like, who predicted that? Who predicted that? I don't know who predicted that. But let me know your thoughts about that and all things discussed. Don't forget to subscribe and thumbs up or down. Either way, I appreciate it. But be sure to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of the celebrity or trending syrup. Y'all make sure y'all stay beautiful, black, and blessed. And drop one of them pancake emojis down below, okay? I'm going to talk to y'all later today. Deuces.
Rolex on your wrist, a plain Jane.
But that's it. If you want to catch more of my commentary on Black culture or vital and trending information, be sure to subscribe by hitting that little circle in the middle of the screen, or I'll catch you in one of these rectangles to the right in another video. I'll see you there.